How are you guys doing this grand morning? Well, it's 8 a.m. and it's Monday, and here we are with some more truths. And today we're going to talk about truth needs no defense. We're going to continue on from what we've already been discussing to go further. Just kind of embed it within us, I guess. But today, this morning, I want to go further than what we've been doing. Because understanding the illusion of division is the one thing, right? And then learning to live true in truth when people talk about you is another. See, and this is where that what we've been teaching becomes really real. It's not in theory, not in philosophy, only in not in even a beautiful idea you agree with, but in the moment your name gets mentioned, in the moment someone misrepresents you, in the moment your words get twisted, in the moment people who do not know your heart start building a story about who you are. And that is the test. See, that is where your discipline either becomes real or disappears. Because truth is not proven when everyone is praising you. Truth is proven when you are misunderstood and remain unmoved. That is what we're going to talk about today. The trap of reputation. You know, most people are not actually living. You want to know what they're doing? They're managing perception. They're busy trying to get people to see them. They wake up thinking about how they're seen and wondering, how so-and-so, what so-and-so thinks of them. And how they are even interpreted. And how they are perceived. And they get a smile and they feel loved and they feel whatever they feel because only by what other people's perceptions are of them. So yes, those types of people, your minds are racing nonstop. How do I know that? Because I was one. I was there. I called it my people-pleasing days and modes. They're constantly calculating, people that are people-pleasing or people that are there just to live their lives on what other people's perceptions are of them. They are constantly calculating themselves through the eyes of others. And this becomes exhausting because you cannot control a world of projections. Morning, hi. And you cannot control what people say about you. You cannot control what they even believe. You cannot control the story they tell when you are not in the room either. So if your peace depends on public approval and what other people think of you, you will never be free. You'll be tormented your whole life. You'll become a servant to an opinion. An opinion is unstable. How's it going? It shifts by the hour. An opinion changes with mood, with insecurities, with envy, with projection, with misunderstanding. So if you build your entire life on reputation, you're building on sand. Even ancient texts and scriptures say, do not build your house on sand. Don't let the seas and the storms take it away. Build your house on a rock. So, because the sand can't support a soul. It can only support a performance. So psychologically, being misunderstood can feel like a threat to the identity. I get it. The brain does not always distinguish between social threat and physical danger. And when people reject us, distort us, or exclude us, the nervous system reacts. The body tightens. The mind starts racing. And you want to explain. You want to defend. You want to be seen correctly. This is not weakness. It is actually wiring, the human wiring. But wiring is not even destiny, by the way. See, the moment you understand that reaction is natural, you can stop worshiping it. You can pause. I call them the stop moments. You can breathe, and you can choose not to obey that every internal alarm. Hey, and that changes everything. Because the mature person does not ask, how do I stop people from misunderstanding me? You want to know what the mature person says? They ask this: how do I stay aligned while being misunderstood? See, that is a deeper question. And it leads to freedom. I mean, let me tell you a story about life. Say you're building something meaningful. And you're building this thing and it's consistent. And this thing you're doing with your life all of a sudden becomes visible. And you just keep creating. But where you're living, all of a sudden people start talking. And someone says something that's inaccurate about what you're building. And what you're building, you're passionate about. So you want to react. And then someone else comes along and they add details that aren't even true even more. And someone repeats even a half-truth. And all of a sudden the environment changes. Even people who never check the facts now have their opinions about what you're doing. People who were never there now are speaking like they're experts and knowing you. But see, the creator in you sees it. The creator in you feels it, hears about it. And at first, that part of you wants to correct everything because you're passionate about what you're doing. You want to explain each detail. You want to restore your image in a way, but you realize that every explanation only gives noise and more life to what they're doing and distracts you from what you're actually doing. You realize that every defense does nothing but gives them more gossip to move around with. And you realize that every reaction feeds the thing they want to escape. So you decide the wisdom is to stop. Because you see clearly. And you realize that you cannot build the defense at the same time. So you choose to keep building. Keep building on you. So you keep working. I'll get to your comments in a second. And you stay with integrity. You keep doing what you're doing. And you stop chasing the false stories. And after a while, something happens amazing. The noise of gossip and the stories people had just lose their power. And it's not because it disappeared, but because it no longer has access to your center. And that's maturity. That is strength. That is what truth looks like in motion. Stoic, grounding. Let me see. The problem arises when it allowed to move too much either side it has to. That's interesting, man. Yeah, it has to be coupled to stay grounded. There you go. Something to look at, huh? A picture of an element like the bridge. You must be an engineer. A person can insult you, yeah, staying grounded. Let whatever walks all over the bridge, because you know it's gonna stay grounded. That's pretty cool, man. You've got to be an engineer. That's an engineer's brain right there. So a person can insult you, a person can misunderstand you, and a person can lie about you. But none of that has to own your own mind. What matters is your judgment, your response, your conduct, your discipline. That is where your freedom lives. You can't do anything about them. You can't control what happens around you. And that's where we spend wasting most of our time, is trying to control everything around us. And that's where we lose ourselves in controlling what happens. We can only control what happens inside of us. And that is not even passive, by the way. That is actually power. No qualifications, no academic career or education. Hey man, you don't need no academic career or education to have an engineer's brain. No, not at all. Some of the most epic designs and things created by people, literally by those that don't have any of that freaking paperwork, because they went and took steps to their brains that they would have never thought of following paperwork. Anyways, and you're controlling what happens inside you. And that's not passive, it's powerful, we said, because silence is not weakness when it comes from clarity. Silence is weakness only when it comes from fear. But silence becomes strength when it chooses and is chosen intentionally. See, when you stop fighting every shadow, when you stop arguing with every distortion, when you stop trying to win in places where no real truth is being sought, that is not surrender. That is command. See, the noise of the economy. We live in a world addicted to noise and chaos. It takes a smart man to play the fool. So true. Sit there, I'll stack like a fool. That's okay. Go ahead. I'll be your jester. I like that. We live in a world addicted to noise. People are rewarded for their reactions, which is a sad thing. For posting, for clapping, for standing with the other Joe causing the create chaos, for clapping back, for performing outrage, for feeding conflict even. Attention has become currency, and gossip is one of the cheapest ways to buy it. I mean, that means if you are not careful, you can give away your energy to people who only interest in keeping themselves entertained. Not everyone who speaks about you is trying to understand you. Some people are just trying to feel important. Some are projections. Some are jealous. Some are wounded. Some are bored. Some are dishonest. And if you do not discern between these, you will waste your life responding to smoke. You need discernment, not paranoia. Discernment. There is a difference. Paranoia seems danger everywhere. Discernment simply sees clearly. And it asks, is this mine? Is this true? Is this worth my attention? If the answer is no, then release it. Nature knows this. I had a good day, right? Nature does not waste energy proving itself. A river does not argue with a stone. This is why I love nature so much. It's where I always go. If I need clarity, nature tells me. A tree does not defend itself into the wind. Its roots are deeper. A mountain does not rush when clouds gather. It remains. Truth is like that. See, the false story may move fast. It may spread. You can't even lose jobs over it and everything. The accusations may spread quickly, but truth has endurance. Truth has depth. Truth is not always loud, but it survives what noise cannot. A storm is intense but temporary. The mountain is quiet but lasting. You must decide whether you will be the storm energy or mountain energy. Storm energy reacts. Mountain energy remains. See, in agnostic's truth, the deepest self is not the personality. It is not the name. It is not the role. It is not the image. It is the awareness beneath all of it. The world of form is always moving, always changing, always dividing. But the deeper reality is not fragmented. The monad is whole, undivided, unbroken. And when consciousness forgets this, it starts clinging to appearance. It starts defending identities. It starts fighting over labels, status roles, and perceptions. But the awakened soul begins to see through all of that. It realizes, I am not the story being told. I am the awareness in which the story appears. And from that place, gossip loses its grip. Because gossip only attacks the surface. It cannot touch what is rooted in truth. What do we look for? Let's make this practical, right? The mountains are my playground, right? Oh my gosh, I love my mountains. Do you still remember who I am? I love the live stream. Let me see. Name. I'm not recognizing your name. Did you change your name? So maybe update me a little bit. Sometimes it shows you where your boundaries are weak. And sometimes it shows you where you are too available. And sometimes it shows you that persons cannot hold your confidence. Sometimes it shows you that your own behavior needs refinement, and that is the useful part. Take what is yours. Leave the rest. That is the skill. Not everything said about you is true, but everything that triggers you can be used. Not as a weapon against yourself, but as a mirror. And if there is nothing to fix and there is nothing to carry, put it down. Do not let other people's language become your inner weather. Picture two people. One hears gossip and immediately becomes consumed by it. They call everyone, they defend themselves, they try to undo every story. Their entire energy becomes centered around what was said. Their peace gets stolen. Their day gets hijacked, and their body stays tight. Their mind stays active, and the gossip grows. Now picture the second person. They hear or read the same thing, but they pause, and they ask what is theirs. They find nothing worth carrying or even nothing worth responding to. So they return to what they're doing. They stay consistent. They do not chase every rumor. They do not give every voice even access, or every comment even a moment. Over time, the difference becomes obvious. One person is ruled by noise. The other is ruled by truth. The difference is visible in the body, in the face, in the voice, in the way they move through a room. That is what discipline actually looks like. Okay, man. You know what? I'm actually seeing your name a little clearer right now. But my eyes sometimes are blurry. And so sometimes I find where they have your names, the way the type of lettering they use, I find sometimes it's hard to read, but I kind of got the angle where my eyes kind of were able to focus on it. I don't have my reading glasses on right now. So, yes, I recognize the name now, and yes, you are always in my stream, and that's awesome, and I do appreciate you. Thank you so much. You're like my #1 fan, dude. Or it says #2 here, I guess. Yeah, the most important thing in the journey of self-discovery is to remain grounded. Yeah, so that your ego, your ego, yeah, it's so true. That is so true. Truth comment there, man. Well, I don't know. I don't know how you get. That's up to TikTok. I mean, yeah. I mean, as far as I know, sometimes it's yeah. I don't know. TikTok does its own thing, man. But anyways, reputation is not our jobs, by the way. People get lost trying to protect their reputation, but reputation is not the same as character. Reputation is what people think. Character is what you actually are. And that's more valuable. And sometimes those two do not match, by the way. If you build your life trying to be understood by everyone, you will lose yourself. And you will not sleep very well when everyone's gone. Life just kind of sucks now, don't it? It's depressing. Because someone is always going to misunderstand you, okay? Someone is always going to twist things. They're going to gossip. Someone is always going to reduce your, your depth to fit their small story. You cannot build a life around being correctly interpreted. That is fragile. Build instead around integrity. Integrity is stable. Integrity does not need applause. Integrity does not need explanation every time. Integrity lets truth speak through time, and time reveals what gossip cannot sustain. See, the discipline of silence is one of the highest forms of discipline. Not silence as hidden, silence as mastery. Not silence because you are afraid, but silence because you do not need to enter every argument. Not silence because you do not know what to say. Silence because you know what matters. And there's immense power in that, in not reacting immediately, in not correcting every falsehood. I'm not donating in not donating your nervous system to every passing disturbance that's out there. And this is how inner strength is built, because you become less pulled by the outside world when you know your inner being and outside voices. You become less addicted to approval, less disturbed by distortion, and eventually your silence becomes louder than their noise. An old man taught me what when I was a kid. He said, "Hypocrite, your reputation will always precede you, so make sure what people hear benefits you." And eventually your silence becomes louder than their noise, right? That's what I was saying just a second ago. But later, we'll see, man. But may I ask a question? What's the question you have? So the thing is this. What happens in our silence is eventually our silence becomes louder than other people's noise. And it's never because you're trying to prove something either, but because your life itself becomes evidence. You're just how you are. So let me tell you about the lie of control. See, a big part of suffering comes from trying to control what cannot be controlled. And you cannot control the mouth of another person. You cannot control their interpretation of you, and you cannot control their envy. You cannot control the story they want to tell about you. You can only control your own side of the street. And that is enough. That is your work. And when you accept this, you stop wasting your life on the impossible. You stop spending your energy on trying to manage every version of yourself in other people's minds. You stop carrying a burden you were never meant to carry. And the space that opens up can be used for something real. Creation, prayer, work, service, stillness, building. That is a better use of our lives. You know, one of the parts, you know, the thing is, some of us want to fight it. There's parts of us that want to disappear and parts of us that want revenge when these things happen. But if we do that, we're fragmented. But if we're centered, the noise has nowhere to land. And you know who you are. You know what is yours and you know what is not. And that's clarity. And that clarity protects you. See, the divided person is easily manipulated. The unified person is harder to move. And that is why inner wholeness is not just spiritual language. It is practical defense. So, you can be loving without being porous. You can be silent without being weak. And you can be firm without becoming harsh. And that is union. That is maturity, and that is the return. I don't know, but thank you for that comment. I appreciate it. What am I talking about? We're talking about what to be in a world of noise, you know, where gossip and people try to fit in and they're trying to have themselves seen, you know. See, the thing is, a person who stays a quiet person, who stays out of it, who doesn't sit there and try to have people see them or see them, they are the stable. They are the consistent. They are not easily bent. They are not addicted to drama. They are not available for manipulation. That kind of presence changes a room. And it quietly reshapes relationships. And often the very people who doubted them begin to respect them. Not because they argued better, but because they lived better. See, a practical code here is that the code is, if it is yours to fix, fix it. If it is not yours, drop it. If it is true, learn from it. If it is false, ignore it. If it is helpful, keep it. If it is noise, let it pass. And that is how you keep yourself centered. That is how you preserve your energy. That is how you stay aligned in a world that wants to pull you into reaction. That is not about becoming cold. It is about becoming clear. It is not about becoming indifferent. It is about becoming disciplined, and discipline is compassion. Direct wisely. Why does this matter spiritually? Spiritually, every time we refuse to be dragged into noise, we return to source. Every time we choose to silence overreaction, you go back to presence. Every time you stop feeding the false narrative, you weaken the illusion, because illusion survives on attention. What you repeatedly look at grows. What you refuse to energize loses power. And this is why attention is sacred. This is why discernment is sacred. This is why your response is sacred. Not because it makes you superior, because it keeps you free. So let people misunderstand you. Let them twist. Let them talk. Let their stories about you, let them tell stories that are not true. You do not need to chase every distortion. You do not need to defend every inch of your name. You do not need to prove your heart to those committed to misunderstanding it. Your job is to live in integrity. Your job is to keep building, and your job is to remain in truth. And truth has no longer life than gossip. Has a way longer lifespan than gossip. Gossip eventually falls. Truth stands. Always stands. The noise fades always. And the stories just change. And the moment passes. But what real is real remains. So be the one who remains. Be the one not fractured. Be the one who does not panic. Be the one who does not sell their peace for recognition. Be the one who can be misunderstood and still stay whole. That is real strength. That is freedom, and that is truth. Thanks for subscribing. I appreciate it. So you need to control your responses only. You do not need to protect an image. Fuck the image. You do not need to protect integrity. And when you do that long enough, the noise becomes irrelevant, because truth does not need defense. Truth lives. Truth endures. Truth outlasts noise. And that's the real thing. All right, guys. Well, we'll see you tomorrow, 8 a.m. Pacific time. Thanks for those of you who've joined. Thanks for those who've joined and become members and join the family. I appreciate you. I had to go to school, and then someone annoys me, and I always cry when I take out. Well, thank you. Hey, just remember who you are, man. Peace and love. We'll see you next time.